You are already paying mortgage. It's just not yours. Good morning. This is Vladimir Nemchinov with InvestSteady.com. Welcome to another live this morning, cold, snowy morning in Cleveland, Ohio. Sorry for the outfit. It's pretty cold here. Today we're going to be talking about, of course, 10 levels of the wealth game. Levels, that is. And number 7 is buying a house. Okay? And how do we do this? Okay, when it's actually makes sense to buy versus rent. It makes sense to buy when you're financially stable, plan to pay to stay put, and owning is cheaper long term than constantly rising rent. Okay? So it's not a magical time. It's not when the market is down when it makes sense for you to rent. It is actually when you are financially ready. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Are you ready to do it? Then do it. Okay. Why the down payment matters more than the interest rate. A bigger down payment lowers your payments, reduces risk, and gives you flexibility no rate cut ever will. It's all matter of that margin between what you bring in and what you spend. And if you put more down payment on the property, you're gonna have decrease your payment drastically, and that's the difference. Imagine you buy a property with 100% down. You don't owe anything. You just pay taxes and insurance every month, or put money every month away for that, and that's it. You know, the big chunk of your income you're keeping now. That's the advantage. Now, if you put 50% down, you're going to have a payment. It's going to be a smaller payment than if you put nothing down or 3% down, of course. How to save for a house without stopping life. You automate savings, get realistic timeline, and keep living while process happens in the background. It's all matter of the strategy, the plan. This is what the wealth game is about. If you need to save up 20% down on a $100,000 house, which is, of course, it's you probably never heard of it, but in Cleveland, it's still happening. $100,000 house, 20% down is going to be $20,000. If you put $1,000 a month, it's going to take you almost a couple years. If you put $2,000 a month, it's going to take you 1 year, and you can buy the property. Okay. The biggest mistakes first-time buyers make: they rush to buy too much house and forget that ownership includes repairs, taxes, and insurance. And that is probably the biggest mistake. Often we compare mortgage to the rent and we were like, it's the same. Or even mortgage is cheaper. Yes, mortgage is cheaper, but owning comes with everything else, with repairs, with maintenance, with leaky roofs, with failing heat. You know, like right now, it's so cold in United States of America. And if your furnace failed, well, you got problems. You need to fix it, and it costs a lot of money. Well, it could be something simple and cheap, but you wouldn't know unless you call somebody professional, and professional will fix that, or they can say, oh, you need to replace your heating system, and now we are snowed in everywhere. Everything is closed. We're only available to do it in a couple of days. Meanwhile, you have water in your house. You can't use water. You have to drain all your pipes. Otherwise, they're going to freeze, bust, and then you have even more problems. With rent, it's not the same. It's landlord's problem, pretty much. They need to figure it out, and figure it out quick, or they'll lose the rent. Okay, so this is in a nutshell what it is. Currently, I own 8 properties. Well, we own 8 properties, myself and my wife. Are obviously primary residents, and the rest are the rentals. So we have experience a little bit in mortgages and buying, and we've bought several different ways, with cash, with mortgage, with low down payment. And so we will answer some questions today based on that knowledge. All right, let's start with the first question. Welcome to everybody, by the way, who is joining. It's nice to have you joining me on this cold, hopefully ride to work, if your work is even open, or the gym. My gym was closed. That's partially why I'm dressed like this. I was going to go to gym, and I got there, nobody in the parking lot, and I see nobody inside. I was like, oh well, I guess I'll start my day earlier without gym. All right, let's see what we got in the internet land these days. We are in good position to buy a home or rental property. Ooh, that's nice. My husband and I are in our early 40s. So am I. No children and no plans to have them. Well, I have different plans. We live in a very high cost of living area, making 210 gross income. $210,000. We have 115,000 in savings and 90,000 in stock market. We have no debt. We are currently paying $2,500 a month rent for a large studio, including parking, amenities, and utilities. Okay. I'm looking to change my career, which will likely decrease my salary. My husband is looking for a higher position, but with his industry and the limited positions available across the country, it's a toss-up as to whether he'll make more money with a change. Either way, we are hoping to move to a place with a lower cost of living in a warmer climate in the near future. I feel like we are in a good place to buy a property, but sometimes I second guess it, and I can't tell if we are just afraid to pull the trigger. Based on this information, what do you think? Okay, so there's not much information, there's not much desires, kinda. You looking to move. Okay, if you're looking to move, then don't buy anything. Just pile up the cash. Try to, save it up. So you have 115,000 in savings. I mean, that's a lot, but if you're buying property, that's the best place to have it, in savings. Okay, stock market. If it's in retirement, then don't even mention that. Keep it in there. Put it in mutual funds. But if it's not in retirement, what are you doing? Put it in retirement. Max out last year, 2025 Roth IRA. That might be you might not be qualified with high income. Okay, so now this is not very relevant question to our topic today. There's too many variables involved. If you are moving, do not buy a house where you are, unless you're gonna move. If you're not seeing yourself moving in 5 years, then buy property right there. Okay, this is kind of nutshell of it. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't say really how much, so 2,500 rent a month is definitely nothing compared to the income. Okay, so yeah, keep piling up. You will get it eventually. It's talking about maybe rental. All right, salary. Okay, so yes, if you want to buy a rental, probably better off buying something for yourself. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this question. All right, let's go to the next one. Should I buy a house now or rent for 10 years and save money? Wow, interesting. I'm 30-year-old male and I'm really confused right now. I need some advice. I've been thinking a lot about my future. I have a great job and good income. Life is going okay. And like many people my age, I'm thinking, should I buy a house now or should I keep renting and save money? Okay, that's where I'm trying to decide. Option 1, buy a house now. I could get a small house with a loan. I'd have to pay monthly EMIs, home loan payments for 15-20 years. It would be tight but possible. The good part is I'd have my own place. I would have no worries about rent. I'd feel more stable, but the bad part is it would take away a big part of the monthly income. I wouldn't be able to save much after paying all my bills. Option 2, keep renting for 10 more years and save 50,000. This means I continue to rent and live a bit more freely. I could save money every month and build up a good amount in 10 years, maybe even invest some of it. Then, when I'm 40, I could use the money to buy a house or make a big down payment. This option gives me more financial freedom now, but I'm not sure if I'll regret not buying earlier. Sometimes I feel like I'll be wasting money on rent, but other times I feel it's smarter to save first and buy later. I don't have kids, no, so I'm flexible, but I want to make a good decision that helps my future. If you've been in a similar situation or have any advice, please share. I would appreciate your thoughts. Okay, so this is a dichotomy that I see here that may or may not be true. So buying a house and pay monthly loan payments, it would be tight but possible. Like if we need to know the numbers here to be able to determine. So what does that mean, tight as possible? It sounds like the rent is much cheaper than the mortgage will be. For example, if you live in New York, right, it's much harder to afford a mortgage than to rent. Obviously, rent is high as well, but still, it's more attainable than mortgage in New York. Okay, if that's the situation, then yeah, you can buy, keep saving, keep renting. But yeah, rent will also, like 10 years. You don't have to do it for 10 years potentially. Maybe focus on saving while you're renting, and not for 10 years, but 3-5 years. Renting is not throwing away money if you're not ready to purchase. To be ready to purchase, you need to have a good down payment. And the down payment. So in buying a property, there is several variables. There is the price, okay? Then there is the payment that you will get, and there's down payment. Obviously, the bigger down payment, the smaller the monthly payment will be, okay? And the price is a variable as well. You can buy a cheaper house or you can buy a more expensive house. And based on those variables, you can determine and decide. You want about 25% of your income to go towards your living. Okay, so whether it's mortgage, if I make $4,000 a month, I don't want more than $1,000 going to my rent or my mortgage. Okay, so if my rent is $1,000, I'm good. If my mortgage is $1,000, well, I might be good, but then I need other expenses to maintain and upkeep the house. So that's the variable. So he's saying that sounds like that renting is much cheaper where he's at than having a mortgage. However, if you buy that house and you sit on it own it for 10 years, it's going to appreciate, likely, of course, historically speaking, right? So these are the options you can go with. Again, without knowing numbers, I cannot determine which is better or not. So either share the numbers or try to figure it out, my friend. All right, let's go to the next one. Does it ever make financial sense to rent instead of buy a home? Yes, it makes sense. Can I ever come out with more money in the end if I decided to rent? If so, how? Or buy? Oh, excuse me. Or will buying pretty much always lead me to more money in the long term? Well, firstly, it's like renting a vehicle, right? If you make $1 jillion a year and leasing a car would be $1,000 for you a month, you will always have a nice car, a new car, and then you don't need to worry about maintenance and stuff like that. Technically, yes. But if you buy a vehicle with cash, then you own a vehicle, right? It's going to go down in value, unlike property. Property usually goes up in value. So with property, with time passage, it will appreciate, right? So you will have equity. And once you pay it off, you have a big, big chunk in that property. With rent, you're never going to get there. Okay? There are advantages of rent, right? Again, even if for mere mortals, what's the advantage of rent? So, for example, I'm moving into the new city. I don't know the area, so renting for a year will help me to determine, okay, to find out what's a good area, what's not good area. Okay, so that's the advantage of that. If you go into a new area and just buy a house, you might get it in a very bad neighborhood. You don't want that. So that's the advantage of renting. Okay, renting also helps you to get ahead and save the down payment for a house. If you're not ready yet, rent is the only option. If you just got out of your mama's house, rent. Obviously, don't buy, rent, but save up. See where you want to be. See how you want to plan. How you want to level up in the wealth game to be able to afford a mortgage, to be able to afford a property. Like I said, we own 8 properties, right? And 7 of them are rentals. And right now, we might look like geniuses. Wow, we have so many property. But every, especially in the beginning, every property was a scary and hard step to make. Okay, to purchase, I mean. But now, looking back, all the prices went up. It was not a no-brainer. Anybody who bought properties after 2008, just genius, But it's just how market was, We just were able to make that step, and it takes guts for sure. It was very scary for me personally. I was scared of mortgages, and now I have a few. Okay, so keep reading. I own my first home right now, and I want to move. I want to be closer to a city, which almost makes rent be the only option in my budget. I probably will never live in a state longer than 5 years in my guess, unless I find somewhere I really love, and then maybe I could buy. I'm a 26-year-old and want to move to Florida or California to be Disney local. Edit, my wife and I always assume you are flushing money down the toilet and just paying someone else's bills if you rent. Versus if you buy a home, you are putting it towards your own equity, and then if you sell and break even, you pretty much lived for free. Versus with rent, you are guaranteed to not have lived for free. Interesting. That's interesting perspective. Like I opened this live with, you're paying mortgage, this might be somebody else if you're renting, right? But it's in no way it is to say that buy. No, don't buy unless you are ready. Emotionally ready and financial ready. It's not due to where what I'm doing. I'm working with properties. I had properties for 11 years now, and so I am not scared of any repairs that might come up, and I can tackle most of them myself, literally most of them. And so it definitely not scares me, that something is leaking or something is broke or some kind of problem maintenance-wise like this. However, if it is something new to you, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to pay money at the market rate for fixes to happen, or go to YouTube University, and you can pretty much address most of the things. They are not complicated, but you need to have this willingness that if they can do it, then I can do it. Okay, so yes, when you're renting, you pay somebody's mortgage. Now I work at a pretty decent sized company that manages apartment buildings and houses, and there are mortgages. So you're paying rent, you pay somebody's mortgage. Or you can pay your own mortgage, but it's not throwing money away. Have a plan. Follow that plan. If it's after some time when you are ready with a down payment, you want to buy a house, then buy a house. But it's not throwing money if you just live there forever. But it's interesting math there. if you pay off your house, at some point it's like living for free because you add more years of living there, but the money you paid for it kind of now averaging out over this time, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. That's interesting. Never thought about it that way. Okay, if you want to move to Florida or California to be Disney local, to go to Disney a lot, I guess, it's interesting way to put question. Do you always want to go there? Do you want to go there because of Disney? I hope not. And if it's not the case, then yeah, so you can buy rundown property for $200,000, let's say in Florida. So you just need to make sure you can afford that. You need to make sure that, okay, maybe in Ohio you can live in a bigger house for the same amount of money than in Florida. It's going to be a tiny one-story building or house, So you need to be okay with that. Yes, so back to the original question. When you have a house, you're definitely paying for it and you're going to own it. Recently, I thought about it, like if I want to prepay my mortgage or several mortgages, right? If I prepay it, I have money in my checking and I do my net worth calculations, right? Right there. Okay, that's my net worth. So when I do calculations, I calculate how much I have in checking, how much I have in saving, how much I have in business checking, how much I have in business saving. Then I look at my mortgages. Okay, this is the value of the property and minus what I owe on it, my mortgage, and this is how much it adds to my net worth. Now, if you, the funny, interesting thing that I noticed recently, like if I take $1,000, let's say my property cost $100,000 or valued at $100,000, right? And I have $10,000 in my checking account, and if I owe $50,000 on it, right? So my net worth would be 10 and 50 of the equity of the property. So it's going to be $60,000, right? And if I take that $1,000 and I prepaid that mortgage, right? I'm going to put it towards principal. Now I owe $49,000, right? So my net worth is the same, but I owe less on the property. And that to me was like fascinating. I never thought about it this way. It's pretty cool, I think. So basically, you're not losing money by just transferring into your property and paying it off. It's still there, And at the time when you pay off your property completely, well, it's still in your net worth. It's still your money. You still own it. It's different with the rent, of course. All right, so there is that. Let's move on to the next question. Welcome. If you're on your way to work, stay warm, drive safe. A lot of snow on the road still, and I think it's still snowing. All right. Not sure whether to buy or rent. I'm 25-year-old looking to buy or rent before the end of the year. I've already talked with a lender and have been actively touring homes. I've been pre-approved for $350,000, but looking around $265,000. Very good. What is it? $85,000 less than you're approved for. Yeah, don't go to the most that you're being approved to, because people want to approve you for more so they can make more, but it may not be beneficial to you. I've been thinking more about my financial situation, and I'm starting to think renting may be a better option for about a year. Little background. I make $104,000 before taxes. I am 1099, so my post-tax income kind of changes when it comes to write-offs. After taking out 20% for taxes, paying bills, and recurring payments, I have about $4,000 to spend each month. I also have $55,000 in my high-yield saving account. Around half of that I have dedicated for tax season. Okay. The other half is for down payment, closing costs, PMI. Well, first of all, separate that. Let's see. Taxes. Yeah, separate that. according to wealth game, you need to have emergency fund. It doesn't say anything about debt here, but you need to have your emergency fund in case something happens, whether you rent or keep renting or when you're planning on buying. So half of it is in taxes, right? For taxes, set aside for taxes. Where's the amount? 55. So 27,000 is for taxes. Okay, separate that. Okay, and then the rest is for down payment. Great. So the 20, obviously, this is 10% of your purchase price that you're willing to get. So if you can do that, if you did that in a year, let's say, you can do another year and then you have 20% down payment on your property, then numbers make sense if they make sense with your whole income. So which is about $8,000. I'm not sure what the payment will be. You need to calculate that, of course, but that sounds good. So after buying, I essentially won't have much of a dedicated emergency fund unless it dip into the money I've put away for taxes. No, don't dip into the money you put away for taxes. Never do that. Taxes is taxes. That's why I say put it separate. I also want to note I'd be moving to a different state. I am somewhat familiar with the area. Emphasis on somewhat. Rent would be about 16 to 2,000. I'd love to get some thoughts. It looks like you can work remotely, which is good. I think is good because you can go anywhere. So that means you don't have to buy right away. You can rent. You don't have to rent specifically in that area. Maybe you can go 30 minutes away and the rent's gonna be cut in half, for example, right? But separate that money and then put that money not for down payment, the 27,000, right? Taxes are taxes. Keep it like that. But then the rest, put it into a separate account for your down payment. Not for down payment, for emergency fund. You need to have emergency fund before you even thinking about buying a property in case something happens, because something can happen whether you have a property or not. So emergency fund comes before. And then take a look. To buy, okay, so I think in my opinion, it's better for you to rent for another year, build up your emergency fund, move to that area if you want to. Silent dust, and that's the best strategy for that. All right, let's see, probably last one for today. Renting versus buying. I'm a 24-year-old male. I am toying with the idea of renting versus buying. The current area I live in, renting an apartment, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 950 square feet, is $1,350 a month plus pet fees, which is $300 for the year and $35 a month. Buying a house in my current area would be $300,000. The apartment would be 40 minutes drive to my current job. The house I'm interested in is worse area, but has all new roof, kitchen, and rooms making it fully remodeled on the inside, but the outside definitely needs some work. The same good school district, about 10 minutes, which I live now, but I would be putting 20,000 K on a 210 house, making my payment 1,350 for the house. 3 bedrooms, 1,100 square feet. I only plan on staying in the house for about 3 to 4 years. As a starter home, I don't know where I'll be in the future, as I planned on changing careers, which with traffic it would be about a 50-hour drive to my current employer. 50 to an hour drive to my current employer, I'm assuming. Would it be better a better starter for me to save my money and look later at houses once I know change careers, or buy? Okay, or buy the house and hopefully build equity before I sell it. Any insight is appreciated. So 4 years is on that exactly the time where you it's either way is kind of good. You could build some equity or you can save up money. If you definitely can save up, and with renting, just save up for 4 years, figure out your career, and then you will decide what you're going to do with your life, and then you buy a house where you're going to work, for example, right? If it's a career change and you go somewhere else to pursue the career. All right, don't probably worry about it right now, especially with extra potential expenses on repairs and stuff like that. And also with the hour drive, don't waste your time on that. Just rent closer to work, get it knocked out, get a second job, save up more faster, and then you can reconsider that. So these are hopefully advice that help you guys to see how buying a property works. If you're younger, if you're older, you probably have a house already, then you can look into next steps in a wealth game. The point of wealth game is to get you to wealth the fastest way, and owning a property is one of those ways that's going to increase your net worth. Okay, because with time, instead of paying rent, you pay for a property and it goes up in value, and then you also kind of increase your net worth like that. Alrighty, guys, this is it for today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in on this cold morning. God bless you, and invest steady, compound your net worth. Vladimir Nemchinov.